Hey guys, my name is Amory Sadil, and my question is: should therapy be free for teens ages 18 and under? And therapy is usually an attempt to solve mental health problems. Therapy ranges from about $15 to $40, $200 to $40 just for a 1 hour session. So each 1 hour session is usually $50 to $240, which is crazy to me. In today's society, teens are going through so much in their lifetime, dealing with stress, school, family, friends, um, bipolar. Some people have bipolar depression. Some end up getting it through all this stress, anxiety, substance use of alcohol, substance use of drugs. The list can literally go on. In my case, mental health conditions do not start from the ages of 14. Most cases are usually untreated. Most health conditions like depression, bipolar, suicidal, etc., are the leading causes of death from ages 15 to 19. I have known lots of my friends in high school, when I was in high school, who missed so many days of school because they felt so much stress dealing with their family problems and then waking up early in the morning to deal with school problems. It's like it just caused more stress and led them to mostly depression and them missing multiple schools, to them to like the school talking to them about, hey, you missed this much amount of school, what are you doing, like you're gonna go to court, this and that. And it just creates more stress on them, which is really stressful for a kid who's in high school just trying to graduate and do their homework without any problems. When I was in high school, for example, I've dealt with so much stress dealing with school activities and my family problems. Family problems between my mom and my dad, always fighting back and forth. Every time I came home, it was to a point where that I did not like being at home. I hated being at home. I would do anything in my way to not be at home. I would go home until like 8 o'clock, so I would be in school from like 7 o'clock in the morning to like 8 o'clock just so I could not be at home. That's how badly I did not want to be at home. And then with all the school activities behind it, it just caused more stress on me, which was my fault. And yeah, which is why mental and emotional health in teens, it's so important to notice and talk about with teens and young children, which is why therapy should be free for them. Why wouldn't it be free for them? Um, I'm going to talk about my main points. One of my main points are going to be about why should we care about young teens and children's mental health problems. And well, mental health occurs 1 in 10 children and young teens. Mental health includes anxiety, depression, stress, and disorders based on what is happening in their lifetime. So according to what their lifetime, or according to what their life and how their situation is at home or like in their personal life, all these disorders usually depends on them and how they take it and how they live with it. Typically, kids and young teens experience this from non-traumatic problems at an early age, so it doesn't have to evolve when having a traumatic episode in their lifetime. It could just happen just out of nowhere. It is important to know mental health of your child rather than the physical health, as what it is known in websites and everything. It allows them to prepare and cope whatever task their life hands them. In our society as of now, children and young teens develop problems with their mental health than it did a few years ago. Changes are often occurring to them with how their minds and bodies are growing. These changes often have it hard on them, which leads them to experiment around them. For example, experimenting meaning that they'll start going through the use of drugs, through the use of alcohol, mixing different kind of drugs with other drugs, mixing alcohol with different kind of other alcohol, mixing alcohol with drugs, and it just creates that experimental mindset. And yeah, and that also has an effect on mental health. My next sub point is mental health problems are very common to occur in teens and young children. Depression is one of the very common problems to happen in children and young teens in today's society. Self-harm is another one. This helps them get through tough emotional pain. I remembered I suffered this from middle school. it just occurred to me out of nowhere, like this big ball of just depression hit me. And this is also when I was dealing with my mom, because she's a schizophrenic, and my dad, who was trying to cope with her schizophrenic but just couldn't really deal with it at a certain point, to a point where like they both collided and had every certain time they want to argue, they'll argue right then and there. And it was too much for me to handle. It was to a point where like my family's not the type of family that wants to talk out their problems. So I would just be there holding in all my problems. Until this day, I still get mental breakdowns because I just never want to talk about my feelings. Another point could be that since parents, a lot of teens don't want to talk out their situations with their parents or anything. Parents don't feel like they need anything because it all really depends on how your parents grew up in. Some parents are like, we don't like talking about our feelings. You don't need a therapist. Like, no, 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 you don't need it. It's just like they it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's very hard to explain it, but my parents are like that. They don't believe that you like, if I say I'm depressed, mom, like I'm really really sad. She's just like, what do you mean you're depressed? Like, you can't be depressed. That's no such thing. You're faking it. You're not depressed. You're just emotional. Go cry it out. Go in the room, lock yourself, and cry it out. You'll be fine within a few minutes. That's it. You're just probably tired. And it's just like, that's what happens to a lot of teens nowadays with how their parents grew up in. And some parents don't believe that their own child needs that, and they don't notice that mental health is a really big issue in today's society. All over the news, you'll hear a news story about suicidal. You hear people, kids in middle school, sometimes even elementary school, getting depression and bipolarness and suicidal thoughts. For me, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts, to a point where like I would cut myself. I would lock myself in the room and cry and cry and cry, and none of my family would help me out. This is why I feel like teens should have the ability to go to either a school district, be like, hey, I have this, I need therapy. Can you please provide it to me without parental advisory? And I just think mental illness is a very, very important thing to notice, especially when you're an upcoming parent. So if you're an upcoming parent and you think that emotional health and mental health is not important, I advise you that to check up on your kids every once in a while, regardless if that's gonna make them push away, but like just help them out, because you never know what could happen to your child in this kind of society. And I just feel that in my heart, therapy for teenagers 18 and under should be free, should be allowed to be free without any parental advisory. And yeah.